CEOs. She is a tech evangelist. She's the CEO of Sensei, also involved with the ICO governance for the blockchain. And she has an app launching, and she's going to tell you all about it. Right now it's called Sense Chat. So welcome to the stage, Crystal Rose.
How many people were at the EOS hackathon yesterday? Like everyone? Yes! We've had a lot of participants, winners, mentors. Everyone's here. I'm really excited about all of the projects that were built. So since you know most of what I would normally talk about, which is decentralization and what it is, well, to put a little bit of a spin on this that's different, I do want to talk about what we're building, but more than pitching, I want to talk about why we're building it. I think it's a really important thing to talk about. So, you know, usually I like to show people all of the numbers that are happening in this space right now, and there's a lot of really big numbers that we're all aware of. Does anybody work at Facebook before I start? Okay, just because I have some things to say about Facebook. But Facebook has 2.5 billion users, and that's a pretty big corner on the entire global population market. A third of the people on our planet are using a Facebook product. But the number that I like to focus on the most is the number of people who are using cryptocurrencies today. So we're still a staggeringly small group of people. This is the room of early adopters. We're in San Francisco. San Francisco likes to be the early adopters, but beyond that, we've come from around the world here to start a movement, not just because of cryptocurrency, but because of blockchain. And you know, really, we have this huge opportunity. It's just the very, very beginning, and I think everybody experienced that this weekend. We're seeing the emergence of the newest, what some people call Web 3.0. Don't hate me if you already hate that term, but it is the next thing that's coming. And so really this is the thing. Like, blockchain is the biggest technological advancement since the internet, and truly we're still at the early stages. Like, do you remember the 1995, like Katie Couric Today in LA, where they had no idea what email was, and they're like, what is the internet anyway? Like, what is that A with the circle around it? They just had no idea. And that's kind of where I think we are today with blockchain. We're like at that 1990, late 90s moment. So it's really crazy to talk about all these applications that we're building, because it is early and it's hard to conceive of what's possible. But there's something that I think is more important than the technology. It's the fact that the humans are still the most important part of all of this. Like, it's the connecting the humans together. It's the providing humans with better ways to connect and communicate and share resources. And also, the fundamental value is actually within ourselves. So the human data is the thing that we're interested in. We started building, if you were familiar with Sensei, the product, we had an ICO at the end of last year. We raised a $15 million ICO, and our product was for capturing human knowledge and providing value, basically doing what all the other guys are doing in a different way. Today, the top apps that we're using on the phones, the things that we have to head up against, the top 4 in everywhere except for China are Facebook, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, and Instagram. And I didn't even include the 5th one, and the reason I didn't include the 5th one on the top 5 is because those top 4 are owned by one company. They're all owned by Facebook. And Facebook has one really big interest, which is all of that data that they can pull in, all the stuff that's really valuable. And so, you know, I think this is really interesting. If you never have looked at the permissions that you give Facebook a lot of access. Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, they all ask you for access to your SMS messages, which is kind of odd past the verification. You don't really need that. They can view your location. They can look at your camera roll. They can even look at your camera at any time that the app is open. And so we just trust them. Like, they're not going to really do anything wrong, right? They're not going to do anything bad. They're not going to listen to our conversations without our permission, right? Like, that wouldn't happen. But really, actually, if you do want to look at the permissions you give Facebook Messenger, this is what it looks like. And these permissions are just arbitrarily given to every app that you use without really having a thought. There's one app, they have 100 million downloads, and they are an antivirus app. And so you're like, cool, I'm not going to get a virus on my phone, Android, Apple. But actually, they want all these permissions. Why? It's a free antivirus app. What do you trade? You trade your data. So you trade your privacy and you trade your data so that you can have potential protection, but you're not actually being protected. So the data is the most important thing. Like, we already know that the top industry on the internet is advertising. It has nothing to even do with commerce. It has everything to do with pushing data. And your data is the thing that's really valuable. All of that data collected together just compiles itself into one massive profile of you that you have no chance of ever retrieving from any of these services individually. And the reason why I like to highlight that all of those services are smashed together is because if you're giving your location data to Facebook and your contacts to WhatsApp, that can be put together in a weird way. My friend was in the hospital recently, and he doesn't post these things on, you know how some people like on Facebook, they post pictures of their broken arm or their car accident, which don't do that because the AI can see everything that's in the images, and your insurance agencies actually buy data from these guys. But anyway, he went to the hospital and he did not post pictures of this on Facebook because it was super embarrassing. The reason that he was in the hospital was a very embarrassing reason. And you know, but he does let Facebook know his location. Now, Facebook knew he was in the hospital. On WhatsApp knows that he has addiction specialists in his phone. They know that he has his AA group, and it knows that he has a counselor. So if you put those two things together, you might be able to figure out that he was in the hospital for a drug overdose. That is something that his mom doesn't even know. His friends don't know. Only his closest friends know, but big data knows. So, you know, the data aspect is a really big part of privacy. The reason that I'm talking about all of this is because we realized really early when we were building our original product, when we moved onto the blockchain, we said, let's take all that data and let's give you, the user, the value back for that data. Let's just sell it directly to the advertiser with your permission. But we realized really quickly that actually your data on Facebook, most people think it's worth like $100 or $1,000 a month. It's actually worth about $4 a month. So individually, it's not worth very much. In aggregate, it's worth a ton, but it's not really that big of a business if you're just an individual. So we wanted to maybe figure out, okay, what do you do? Like if you're centralizing all the human data into one place, well, we all know what centralization is. A lot of us see it now as a dirty word. Centralization is not necessarily just about data storage. It's actually about data authority. It's about who owns the data. So Facebook seems to be really centralized. You know, and I'm not picking on Facebook. By the way, WeChat, if I were in China, I would be talking about WeChat in the exact same way because they're centralizing all of this data and they're centralizing their control. And so we really like the idea of decentralized, which is, you know, giving the ability to put things in a broad distributed system. You can put nodes on a system that go beyond just the central servers. You can put nodes on a system that are the phones themselves. And so theoretically, you know, this data could belong to everybody. You could put your data in your pocket. You could own it. And I love the companies that are building these products. If you find anybody that are building the products of, you know, owning your data, importing it with you, health data is probably the number one. So, you know, I think that when we look at the world of centralization, decentralization, we're in the camp of like decentralize it. But that also kind of makes people think like anarchists in a way. Like, okay, so we're taking down the governments. But it's not really that. It's more like we're looking for new systems of governance. And that's why I think we all love EOS so much, or we're all really excited about the platform, because we're looking at a new type of governance. We're looking at something that can be more community-driven. And it's not that we're decentralizing things as the primary goal. The goal is actually providing fairness across the ecosystem. The goal is what we saw as the challenge this weekend, which is aligning the incentives of everyone who is in the equation. So for the first time, we get to finally have our incentives aligned as users with the platform. And to do that, we're probably going to have to decentralize it in some way. So real-world blockchain applications, we're seeing lots of them. I'm beyond excited to see that this is the year of the dApps. We went through the year of the ICOs, maybe even like 3 quarters. And now we're here and we're building, and everybody's turning HODL into BIDL, and like this is just the most exciting time to be building, I think. Really, so we kind of think about like what's nonsense and what makes sense. Like we're building sense. We think that decentralization makes sense. We think that peer-to-peer makes sense. We think that it's really not outside of reality to think that we could build products that don't spy on people or store their messages. And so, you know, this is the entire, so far, dApp ecosystem. After this weekend, we're probably going to add, I don't know, what was it, 75 more to this? Sense has built 2 of them, though. We built a product called Crypto DM, which allows you to direct message anybody with crypto inside of Telegram. We did that because Telegram raised $1.5 billion, but they haven't built anything yet. So we just wanted to throw crypto right into the messenger that we all love and use. And then we built Sense Chat. And Sense Chat is a decentralized messenger that lets you privately chat and transact crypto with no data storage, no spying, nothing in between. It's a really simple idea, which is why my whole presentation isn't just based on slides about our product, because the product is really as simple as a peer-to-peer connection. We turn every phone into a node, and we make it so that we, the company, don't have any control whatsoever about what you're chatting about. We don't read it, we don't spy on it. Last month, I think, or about a month and a half ago, WeChat just recently banned every single user account that was talking about crypto. So if you're on WeChat and you were talking in a public group about crypto in any capacity, you got suspended. Well, that's like the most censorship that you could possibly have. How could a platform do that? You're chatting, and then you start to think about all your other private conversations, then you start to think about your photos, and you're like, oh my God. And actually, all of the messengers have AI on the back end, scanning photos, tagging photos for what they consider relevancy, and that relevancy is usually to target you for ads, but it is pretty kind of scary and a little weird. So we have a wallet inside of it as well. We have a token called Sense. That token is going to be used so that you can have these conversations and not have to worry about us selling your data in order to support the network. So the incentives become aligned. We don't have really high infrastructure fees. Users pay a couple of cents to have a private video chat. We've done video chat on the blockchain for the last 2 months, so really proud about that. We don't store it. There's no IPFS. It's literally a handshake with your wallet. So we're really excited to get this out to the world. We have a beta sign up at sense.chat. We're coming this month. This has been an evolution of understanding that the future is not about ownership, and the future is not about collecting all the data. The future is just about being free. So we'd like to do